Well, welcome to this episode of Megan's Social Media Marketing Show. And today I am so excited to have Ashley Brown on with me. She will tell you all about all the wonderful things she does. But first of all, thank you so much for being here with me, Ashley.
Yes, thank you so much, Megan, for having me. It's such a pleasure to be able to talk to you, especially about marketing, which can be, I don't know, it can be interesting.
It's true. If you're not a marketer already, if you're not trained in it, and then you have a small business, you realize all of a sudden, oh no, I have to learn to be one really quick. So, yes, absolutely. So, we're going to talk with Ashley about her Instagram account. I reached out to her before she reached 3,000 followers, and now she's well above that. At the recording, we're almost at 3,400. So, she's growing so quickly. And I wanted to talk with her, and she agreed to share you all the secrets of all the things that she's been doing on her account. But before we jump into that, please tell us, Ashley, about you and your business.
Yes, so my name is Ashley Brown. I am a mom of two. So I have two girls, they're almost 2 and 4. So still small children. They are just everything to me. Love my babies. And then I'm also a wife to an amazing man. He is such a sweetie pie. And we live in Baltimore, Maryland. So I'm not originally from Baltimore. My husband is, but I am from South Carolina. So I'm a Southern girl, but we've migrated up to Baltimore because my husband grew up here. It's been a really beautiful experience being here in Baltimore, and I probably will end up staying here for a really long time. So love Baltimore. Definitely, if you get a chance to visit, do so. In terms of outside of like my roles as mom and wife, I'm a Southern girl who loves Trader Joe's, Target, coffee. I'm a huge coffee fan, and just anything that is going to help me in thriving in life. I'm really big on self-care and also just self-discovery and self-love, especially in these times. So that's a little bit about me. And then I also run a business, which is Routine and Things, where I equip women to start, maintain, and enjoy freeing and flexible routines. I truly believe that routines don't fit into a box, and you can create routines to help you in your life based upon who you are and what really vibes with you outside of what someone else does or outside of what someone else thinks. Really creating routines that are going to be in alignment with what you value and what you need for your life. And so we do this through products and resources that can really help you in cultivating those really amazing routines for your life. So that's a little bit about me. Oh, and also I'm a nurse educator as well.
Oh, you just slipped that in there. Oh.
I know, I know, which is so interesting. I slipped that in at the end, but my nursing career has been like foundational for me in terms of all the things that I have learned throughout life, like flexibility and prioritization and time management, but also education is my heart. That's why I still educate in routine and things because I love educating.
Hmm. Oh, that's good. Well, I'm learning from you nearly every day from your posts and everything that you put out there. So you also have a podcast, correct? With
Yes,
your
yes,
yes, to go along with your business.
yes.
So what came first? Did the Instagram account, did you start that first? Did you already know what you wanted to share before you started it? How did it all evolve for you?
Yes. So the business came first and then the Instagram and then the podcast. But the business was just came out of nowhere, to be perfectly honest. And it was due to my time as a stay-at-home mom having a really rough patch during that time and really leaning on routines to help me get back to myself and to really be able to manage my life. And so that's how the business came about. But the business got started, and then I didn't really know specifically what I wanted to share. I just knew I wanted to share about routines and mom life. That was how I started. I was like, oh, I want to share what I know about routines. I want to share about mom life because if you're a mom, like it's beautiful, but it also has its challenges and hurdles from time to time. So I want to share about that. And it was interesting because when I started the Instagram, people just started to flock towards it, and I was like, oh, I think I may have something here with the routine thing. And I knew that's what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how people were going to resonate with it, because some people have such, like, when they hear routine, it's very off-putting for some people, right?
Mhm.
And it's very niche too. So I didn't know how it was going to come across, but I started seeing people come in when I was talking about routines. People thought the information was really helpful. And so that's when I was like, you know what? I need to start a podcast. Funny enough, my podcast used to be called the Peace of Home Podcast. And then I switched it to Routine and Things Podcast, just so that, it could be some consistency there. But the podcast came because I was like, you know what? I can talk about routines all day. So, and help people. So that is how the podcast came about. And then that's when I started selling products after the podcast, and really equipping women with resources as well to help them with starting and maintaining routines.
Mm. Ooh, okay. This is a lot to dig into.
Yeah.
This is good. So, what were the things that you saw made a big difference in the growth specifically of your Instagram account? So if you kind of have an idea of that timeline in your mind that you could share, if like you started and then you kind of hit this tab and then you started something else, and what were the things that you really saw push the needle forward?
Yes. So I started my Instagram account, and this was when I started my business too, in September of 2019.
Okay.
And at that time, I didn't have a podcast for an entire year. I didn't have the shop for the entire year. Like from September 2019 to September 2020, I didn't have podcast or shop. And
Mm.
so I remember, like, I started to see some growth. And then at a certain point, I would say September of 2020 is when I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to do more than what I'm doing, because I think I was around maybe 600, 700 people within a year. And I was like, no, I really want to get out to the world and get in front of more women, because I know women need what I have to offer. I know women are looking for things that deal with routines. I knew that for a
Mhm.
fact, because I was that woman at one point, and I was like, oh, I need a routine. So I really became very intentional at that point with outreach, and really seeing how I could support other communities and other women in their business to help their communities. And that's when I started reaching out. And it was like my weekly routine was, because I am going to share, routine was a big thing to help me get
Yes.
right, to help me get to this place. But every week I would sit down in search of, discovering women that were helping moms, or women that were helping women with, like, just thriving in life, and reaching out to see, can I support your community? Can I support your mission? And would you like for me to share about routines with your community? And so every week I would just make sure that I discovered 10 new people, 10 new businesses, and I would reach out to them via email and ask, can I be on your podcast? Can I speak in your Facebook group? Can I, do an Instagram live or takeover? I just started to reach out. And that was every single week for 12 weeks. I did that every single week for 12
Wow.
weeks. And some weeks I was like, okay, Ashley, oh my gosh. Especially when things started to build and I started to be able to get podcast interviews, and I'm like, oh, it's a whole bunch going on. So, but it did help. And that's why I would say between September of 2020 to now, I have grown by a good amount, because of reaching out and seeing if I could support other women's and businesses communities, and making sure that I was really intentional about who I reached out to as well. Just
Mm.
relationships. I feel like routines and relationships, boom, like
Ooh,
tremendous
R&R.
R&R, right?
Routines and relationships. I love
Yeah.
it.
R&R was the way that I grew my account. I'm telling you, relationships were huge. Me reaching out to people, because even from one relationship, I started to get opportunities from who they knew. So
Mhm.
that was a really big thing for me, and really just putting myself out there. And because at one point I was like, am I able, like, do I have enough experience and have been talking about this long enough in order to reach out to people? But then I was like, you know what, Ashley, you know what you're talking about. Like, you have the experience. Why not? And so I didn't care if they had, 100,000 followers, 10 followers. I was just messaging and reaching out to see how I could support them with their mission, their community. And so that's how I have built my account, honestly, is those two things, just being consistent with outreach and then the relationships that have grown from it.
Oh, great. So if I could dig in a little deeper, when you say that, how were you doing those things? Were you DMing? You were finding 12 accounts on Instagram and DMing them
Mm,
requests, or how did that work?
yes. So no, I was finding them on Instagram, and how I would find them is it would be from people that I already follow. So, you can go to the person's account and then you can hit like the down arrow and it shows similar accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be like, oh, who's in this similar account? And I would look to see, well, one, what are they talking about? What is their community like? Are we kind of speaking somewhat of the same language as to I thought that maybe their community would resonate with me, because
Mm-hmm.
that was a huge thing too for me, is just wanting to make sure that I wasn't using my time, and it was that my time was going to be well spent when if I did get the opportunity. And so that's how I was finding them, through Instagram. And then I would look up their email, because usually it's on Instagram, and I would email them. And so my email, I would use the same template, honestly, the same template, of course, personalize it to make sure that it is speaking to the person, but I would use the same template. I would see, do you need support in this area? And a lot of people were like, yeah, I do. I would love for my community to learn more about routines. I speak about this a little bit because that's the thing, is like some people would have accounts where, or their business would speak about routines, but they want to get it from a different perspective. Some
Mm-hmm.
women didn't speak anything about routines, so they wanted to be able to support their community with that. So that's really how it worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
So not reinventing the wheel, just making sure that I was speaking directly to the woman that I was wanting to support.
Hmm. So you were looking at accounts that had a similar topic to yours, maybe not the same exact topic, but so you were looking in maybe more of the wider topic of organization, or a little broader than just routines, because like as you said, that's a very
Mhm.
niche part of the overall like time management, time
Mhm.
planning,
Mhm.
organization category.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that was a great tip there, is thinking of it that way, and then looking at the similar accounts of other people that are talking about those larger topics, and reaching out to them via email with an email template that you have. And I'm sure, tell me a little bit more about this email, because people want to know
Yeah.
what's in this email. And I know from experience as a podcaster, you get lots of requests.
Oh, yeah.
So, and not all
Yeah.
of them are anywhere near appropriate for your audience. So, how did you
No.
convince them that this is for their audience?
Yes, I think it was honestly, I feel like, because I came from a stance of, I'm really here to support your mission and I'm here to support your community. And I would give them, this was one thing I would put in the email that could be really helpful for you, is I would give them specific topics and the names for like what the episode could be or what the talk could be.
Mhm.
That's what I did, so that they didn't have to think about, well, what do I want her to talk about? She already gave me three topics that I could choose from, or three specific subjects that she would talk about. And so I think that was really helpful. But I really feel like it was really about understanding their community, understanding their business,
Mhm.
and just offering support. I really think, because it's interesting, because my email, I have gotten really good feedback from people I have pitched. It's like, your email is really good, but I'm saying, like, really hone in on that support. I'm here to support you, because that's what we're here to do, is support their mission. You need to know what that is. And
Mhm.
then also make it easy for them to be like, yes, because this sounds good. This sounds like a good topic. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
So, how did you had that routine you explained of reaching out to 10 different companies for it. Was it every day for
It
12 weeks
No,
or
every week. Oh no,
I was
every
like,
week.
oh my goodness. Okay. So
Yes.
so
Yes.
every week for 12 weeks, at least 10, so like 120 contacts there
Yes.
that you did. And over a 3 month period of time, which sounds like it kickstarted everything
Mm-hmm.
for you. So you started to get some yeses, you started to
Yep.
get some guest podcasts and some more traction for your podcast as well, I'm guessing. What other routines did
Mm-hmm.
you have during that time period of growth, or even in general, do you employ now to help
Yeah.
keep your Instagram account active?
Yeah, I know that I have a routine that I do weekly as well, where I will plan out my content for the week. And it's
Mm.
not like most of the time, because I always know I post a podcast, like a clip of my podcast every Monday, because that's when my podcast episodes release. But then after that, I just make sure I schedule either 2 or 3 more posts. I don't have to know which order they're going in. I just want to make sure I know what the post is going to be and I have a caption along with the hashtags for the post. And so I do that every week before the week comes, and it really saves me because then I'm not waking up in the morning like, what am I posting about today?
Mhm.
That helps me to stay consistent with, sharing information with my community, which is really helpful, So that's one routine that I do. I also It's interesting because I have a podcast routine that I just did today, which is every month at the last week of the month, I batch record the episodes for the following month. And that has been super helpful for me and edit them as well. So just staying in alignment with that has been really helpful. So those are the routines I have, and I plan as well. I have a planning routine that I do every single week. Plan out what am I doing with the business. I'll also plan for home too. Like I said, I'm a mom, so I got to plan for home too.
Mm.
Keep this home together. But I have a routine, a planning routine that I do every single week that I don't miss. Because if I did, I don't know how things would get done.
I hear you on that. Okay, so you share, was it 4, 5 times a week?
Oh, for what? For what specifically?
That's true. There's so many different ways to share on Instagram. So you have maybe how many, kind of what does that look like for you content wise? You said you
Yes.
share a clip from your podcast, but
Mhm.
then do you have how many feed posts maybe? What do you put in
Yeah.
stories? Do you
Yes.
like reels? Tell us all the
Oh,
things.
okay. Yes. So in terms of my content on Instagram and information, I usually do between 3 or 4 posts every week. And that can range from podcast clip to a freebie that I have. I try to share about my freebies every so often. Freebies that I have, I'll talk about something that deals with motherhood. I'll have products. So because I sell products, I'll have a product shot in there, to be able to share with people these products are available for you. So I
Mhm.
have that every single week. I also, because I do Instagram lives every so often, I do clips. Like I will take out a snippet of my Instagram live that I saved to IGTV, and I will sometimes put clips of me of those lives and those IGTV videos, which is really helpful to bring people back there. Because
Mm.
sometimes your content you can create so much content and everybody isn't seeing it. And so when you bring it back to the forefront, then they can dive a little bit deeper if they want to. So that's my post. Stories, I usually try to be on stories at least at some point throughout the day. Some days are a lot. I have a lot of stories. Some days I only have maybe 2 or 3. It just depends on what is actually feeling for the day. What is going on in my day, to be perfectly
Mhm.
honest, especially because I'm a solopreneur. So it's like I don't have anybody doing this with me or for me. So it really depends on what's going on with me. So I will do stories, and I love stories. I think they are a really great way to connect. I ask a lot of questions on my stories because I'm really trying to see what do my community need at these moments, because it changes from season to season and things just take place in their lives that they need assistance with. And so questions are huge, polls are huge for me. Just checking in with my community is really huge when we're talking about stories. And yes, I love IGTV videos. I love doing Instagram lives. I feel very comfortable doing that. Like I said, I'm an educator. That's probably why. And then, and then reels. I love reels too. I haven't been doing them as much, but I feel like every time I do them, people love them. I try to
Mm.
be really strategic with my reels, and I love to make them either funny or informative. I really try to go the funny route though, because I want to make routines fun. I want to make them fun, something that you can have fun with. So that is my kind of my Instagram flow. My Instagram
Mhm.
routine is, those things. And I at least try to do a reel every month, every 2 weeks. I at least try to do that, but that's not something that's hard and concrete though.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are, I find it fun. I love reels. They're so fun for me. I love them. I would do one every day if I had the time. But I was really surprised when I was looking back at my stats recently that the instructional ones were so popular because I assumed, I guess, that the funny ones would be, or the fun ones in general. And no, people really pay attention to them when they have instructional content. I was like, oh, people are just going to ignore these. They're just going to keep going because they want the funny ones.
Uh-huh.
But I was really surprised. So it made me, and it takes a little more planning when you're doing an instructional one and you have to do it
Mm-hmm.
in such a tight timeline.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing I was like, ooh, I need to make the time to make a few
Yeah.
more of those. So that's
Yeah.
interesting to hear you say that. So, are there any other routines that you employ to really help keep you on top of your Instagram game?
Oh, so this is one that I do, and I try to do it like every other week. I don't do it as often as I used to, but I try to stay in contact and with the relationships that I have built.
Hmm.
So I really try to make sure that I go and support them on their pages, like in their posts, commenting, sharing. That is something that's huge, is to really get other people and their businesses and what they're doing to help support the world out to my community. So that's something that I love to do. And I'll just take some time out like every other week and sit down and go through my follow, like the people that I follow, and I'll just go through, see what they're talking about, see what's going on for them. Can I share this? I'll check in on them to DM them, see how they're doing. And so that's something that has been really helpful, because I just, I don't like to just, connect with someone and then, especially like if you're talking about doing a podcast interview and they didn't know you from Adam or Eve, and you go on their podcast and then you never check in with them again. I at least try to stay in contact, because they were really gracious to have me on their podcast, but also I'm a relator and I'm a relationship type person. So I love just building relationships with people. I think it's really important in life in general. So yeah, that's another routine that I have that has been really helpful, just in terms of staying connected.
I love that you said that because that is something that I in the last year have found so important that it seems counterintuitive in some ways that you would want to support all the people that are doing the same things that you are. It seems
Mhm.
like they should be my competition. However, no, it's actually the opposite. The more that you support them,
Mhm.
the more that it comes back to you, if that makes
Yes.
sense, because we're all in this together. We are all trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And there are literally 1 billion Instagram users to go around.
Yeah.
And the more that we help each other find our own users, the better that, and it also helps with to keep you top of mind with
Mhm.
them and the
Mhm.
things that they're doing. So they might realize later down the line,
Yeah.
oh, if somebody approaches them and they're like, well, that's not something I really talk about, but you need to go talk to
Mhm.
Ashley because she
Mhm.
talks about routines. Or and just those kinds of things that you just
Yeah.
never know what will come up
Yeah.
because of a connection that you've made. Oh, and I also find it really exciting then when I go through my feed and I get so many ideas from what other people are sharing. And I just, you learn so much from your colleagues as
Oh,
well
yeah.
that you can help then turn around and help your audience with. So,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's like relationships are the gift that keeps on giving. I just love them. Yeah,
that's a good one.
definitely. Yeah.
I like that. Gifts that keep on giving.
Yes, yes.
Great. Well, I would love to ask you, Ashley, as we kind of wrap up here, how can my community support you?
Yes, so definitely by following on Instagram at Routine and Things would be really helpful. But also, subscribe to the podcast, especially if you need help. Only if you need help. Don't just go subscribe. It's nice, but I want you to be focused on what you need to be focused on. But if you need help with routines in any way, it's a bunch of episodes that you can binge. So the Routine and Things podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, we are available. And then also check out the site, routineinthings.com. I have a bunch of products and resources that can help you cultivate really beautiful routines for your life. And I have a few there for business as well. So that is how you can support. I would greatly appreciate it.
Oh, good. We'll definitely do that, Ashley. And thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm so glad to have you in my circle now.
Yes, I'm so happy that you invited me on, Megan. It was so fun.